We probably should dive straight into it, and we should start talking about Chelsea pretty sharpish because it's been a busy few weeks. So Jorell Hato, Xavi Simons, Alejandro Garnacho.
Yeah.
There's some names potentially coming through the door. Some exits and Nicholas Jackson looming potentially as well. Hugo Ekatike vanishes. Was going to go to Chelsea. Then he was going to go to Newcastle. Ends up at Liverpool. Liverpool going to sign Alexander Isak as well. Liverpool going to spend lots of money. FSG are going to have a buy-in with the PIF apparently. So looking forward to those conversations with Liverpool over the next 6 months because they can't contend with the big teams and spend the same sort of money, and the relationships they have, people have with Saudi Arabia is disgusting, isn't it? So I think it's just an interesting situation there. But we should focus on Chelsea first, and we should look at Jorell Hato. I want to talk about first. Um, I'm quite excited about this, Dan, because I think one of my big worries is always signing players from the Netherlands because you don't know which player is going to come, right? But Jorel Hato is a player which I think is going to fit in quite well at Chelsea somehow. I don't know. Tell me what you think.
I think it's one of the most important deals of the summer in terms of just like what the squad needs. You just simply couldn't go into the season with only one recognised left back or left wing back. It just was squad sort of malpractice. And I feel like it's the sort of deal that wouldn't have been done last summer. And it's
Mm,
why I think this summer feels a lot better because there's a lot more football logic behind these deals because the squad needs left back depth. I think we got away with it, to be honest, that Cucurella was so durable during the second half of last season. And sure, we can talk about the Renato Vega situation and that being a player suddenly deciding he wants to play centre back. But whatever it is, you don't then just sit back and do nothing. You have to act. You have to be proactive and try and, rectify the area. So I'm happy that there's at least going to be someone there who can rotate. But then also I think there is real value in the player. There's real excitement about the player. And I feel he will get substantial minutes, I think, for a
mm,
variety of reasons, because of the congested schedule or the Club World Cup fatigue that we've talked about a number of times. You're going from Champions League to Premier League and the League Cup. And I don't just think Jorel Hato will just be a League Cup player. I think he will be someone that, because of his versatility, you could absolutely see scenarios, maybe in games because of substitutions or whatever, where Hato's playing as left centre back and Cucurella is playing as left wing back. I think
mm,
you could see that over the course of the season. So I think profile wise, in terms of who Maresca needs, I think physically, aerially, there's a lot to like about him as well. You could see
mm.
how physically he looks suitable for the Premier League, and positionally where he finds himself in consistently for Ajax on the pitch. Yeah, I could see him fitting in quite well, kind of the standard Maresca setup. A
Mm.
free, in possession, a four out of possession, and maybe need some work attack wise. Well, I spoke to an Eredivisie expert about this, and yeah, he maybe isn't the bombing left back that Malo Gusto is on the right side, or Cucurella can be, and maybe that's a part of his game that's a little bit limited. But I think in terms of what's there to work with, I think there is definitely a high beginning, basically like a high floor, and we'll see how high he goes. But I think
Mm.
from at its core, what this deal does is it adds sufficient depth to Mark Cucurella, which of course is
Mm.
is is necessary. So I'm happy on that aspect.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's something which I think Chelsea needed a lot more than most in terms of that position. Um, and a player of his quality, I think the thing is, if you look at what a lot of people are going to say straight off the bat is he's a very young player,
Yeah,
and straight away people are going, "Oh, Chelsea doing it again, another young player, another this, another that." So he's actually got over 100 appearances for Ajax. He's played a lot of senior football. He is no
mm,
mug. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that transition goes for him. I do agree with you. I think his physicality and his presence is definitely going to be a welcome asset in this Chelsea team. I can see with that standard set where it probably will just end up being like realistically, he'll shift into the three in possession, and then we'll have the right hand side be Reece James or Gusto bombing on.
mm,
That's what I can see happening there in that position. And I think, yeah, like you're saying, Cucurella being so durable was a big plus for us. But you can't do that for your entire career. So, well, it's good to see that he'll have someone who can cover him and
And also, just
give him a bit of
quickly, I
rest.
think it's a succession plan as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what hopefully Hato will be for Chelsea in the long term. Is that I've sometimes been frustrated at times in the past where Chelsea don't have good succession planning on certain positions, where
Mm.
a player is either coming to the end of their career, is either coming to the end of their contract, and it isn't being sorted out, and then you're sort of forced to go in the market and maybe do something a little bit hasty that you didn't want to in the first place.
Yeah.
And the hope will be that Jorell Hato will eventually become the first choice
Mm.
left back for Chelsea in the long term.
Mm.
Whoever that head coach is, whether Maresca is here for a long period of time or, for however long it is, I think that's also a part of this deal. It should be. I don't, I think there are some young deals that Chelsea have done where I think there is absolutely some cynicism behind it of, we'll flip this player in 12 months. A la, I mean, even people saying that, Joao Felix is arguably part of this, but I don't really buy that because he's not exactly a young player. But Mark Guiu, for instance, I think for me, that is just such an obvious case of Chelsea buying a player for such a stupidly low fee that then they're going to be able to guarantee themselves a profit on. I hope
Mm.
that Jorell Hato is not just a flip for profit player as a young player. I think he's here to be a substantial player for Chelsea. And
Mm.
because Cucurella is in the best phase and kind of reputation of his career. But as we know in football, that can change very quickly. So at least
Mm.
hopefully you've got someone there that could step up if it's not just a case of Cucurella moving on. It's also a case of if Cucurella struggles and reverts back to the earlier part of his Chelsea career, which we hope he doesn't. But at the very least, you've got someone there, hopefully, who could fill those boots in the long term.
Mm. That's exactly it. And I do think for the price we paid as well, the experience we're getting, the potential of a player, in terms of a complete package, I do think Jorel Hato is potentially going to be this ownership's shrewdest piece of business. Potentially. We'll have to see what
Mm.
happens. We'll have the conversation in 12 months' time. Um, but I'm very, very excited to see him in a Chelsea shirt. I do think that he's going to be somebody who can bring something to the team and something which we lack in terms of that leadership quality as well. Because I believe he's captain Ajax a few times as well, hasn't he?
I'm not offhand. Maybe he has, but I know obviously, for a young player to play as much as he has for a club as big as of Ajax, and also I think the excitement in the Netherlands about him as a talent,
Mm,
because I think there is also something up for grabs on the left side of their defense, the Netherlands, compared to the right side, which is kind of more settled.
mm,
So I guess there's some concerns that, is if he'd stayed at Ajax, he'd be guaranteed for that World Cup squad. But I don't know. I think that there could be a scenario where I don't think Hato is going to play as much as he did for Ajax, but I do think there is a possibility of him getting 15 to 20 appearances for Chelsea this season. And
mm.
if he does well in those appearances, that might be enough to get him an international spot, at the World Cup.